There are some sensitive polities where you move with delicacy, and others that are where angels fear to tread territory. Enter the UK Independence Party, who'll begin outlining the policies that will form their manifesto. Their first is a controversial plan to ban the full veil from public places. In a moment, UKIP's Nigel Farage will tell us why and how. But first, one woman who wears the veil explains why she covers up.
I can't describe it. It's spiritual, it's comforting, it gives me purpose, it liberates me, it gives me my identity, it gives me my purpose in life. I said to my husband, I want to wear the veil. He was actually very surprised, and he said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes, I want to do this. It actually takes a lot of courage to wear the veil, so, you know, it's not something that's easy to do. But it's no different to, I don't know, having a goth look or a punk look or having lots of body piercings. It's an individual choice, really, you know.
Okay, bye. Bye, girl.
I don't actually use the word burka, and people have a different understanding of what the burka is as well. But if you're meaning, which I assume you mean, is my face covering, this is what I just call the veil. For some people, they wear the long baggy garment, which some people will call a jubba, some people will call it a jilbab. It will depend from which culture you come from, which language you speak. There are different names for these garments, but they all mean the same thing. Surely we are allowed to wear what we want, just like anybody else is. We're doing nobody any harm, and if it's a security issue, we'll be happy to remove the veil where necessary, and we do anyway. So if we take an individual person's choice away of what they wear, then that's what I call oppressive.
We're joined now by Nigel Farage, MEP and former UKIP leader, alongside Salma Yaqub, leader of Respect. Nigel Farage, just take us through, so what do you want to ban?
The covering of the face in public places and public buildings. I mean, after all, I can't go into a bank with a motorcycle helmet on. I can't wear a balaclava going around a district and circle line. What we're saying is that this is a symbol. It's a symbol of something that is used to oppress women. It is a symbol of an increasingly divided Britain. And the real worry, and it isn't just about what people wear, the real worry is we're heading towards a situation where many of our cities are ghettoised, and there's even talk of Sharia law becoming part of British culture. Now, that's a real worry.
I just want to clarify. So it's just the covering of the face,
Yes.
not the body?
No.
So if you want to wear a full body thing, but bits of the face open, that's fine?
It is not for the state to tell people what dress they should wear or what coloured overcoat they should wear, but it is for the state, especially at this time of heightened security, where we're being CCTV cameraed wherever we go. It is for the state to say that if you're on an underground train, if you're at a bank...
I just wondered very quickly, do you draw a distinction between being able to see someone's eyes, or where you've got the burka, for example, you see in Afghanistan, where you can't see the eyes because there's a grill-like thing?
There is a degree of subjectivity about this, but it's perfectly clear to me that in the example we saw from the film, it would be very difficult to identify who that woman was.
There's a degree of subjectivity.
Well, of course there is.
How can you draw up laws where you've got areas of subjectivity?
You know, whether it's half an inch or 3/4 of an inch that's open, that's where subjectivity comes in. But what we're saying is, if there is a deliberate attempt to cover the face, then that is a symbol of an increasingly divided Britain that is not at ease with itself.
Salma Yaqub, the point about wearing a crash helmet in a bank, you wouldn't be allowed to go into a bank wearing a crash helmet because people would wonder what you were doing. Doesn't the same apply to wearing the niqab or the burqa, however you want to describe it?
As the lady in the clip said, when it comes to security issues, whether it's at the airport or identifying people on a bus or indeed in a bank, then there's no issue. The women who do wear the face covering say they'll be prepared to unveil in that circumstance where identity is the issue. And Nigel is throwing in a whole lot in this mix, because on the other hand, he talks about oppression of women. Clearly, this woman has made her own choice. She doesn't need Nigel championing on a white horse to liberate her in any way. In fact, it's extremely oppressive to tell women what they can wear, what they can't wear. I'm against the enforcement of the veil in countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran. I openly condemn that, but we're living in Britain, and where people make free choices. I choose not to wear it, but I champion the right of women to wear a scarf, to not wear a scarf, and indeed to wear the burqa. And let's get a perspective. You also talked.
There are plenty of people in your community who are opposed to it, aren't there? I mean, Sarah Khan, who won
it's called
The
having
Apprentice.
different opinion.
There are lots of people, and
That's my point.
And there are Muslim countries that ban it.
My point,
Turkey, for example.
Oh, should we follow Turkey in every
Well, I'm
aspect
just
of its
making
human
the
laws?
point.
No,
but
no.
this is not in the Quran, is it? that
can I
women
make
have to
one
cover
thing?
their faces?
I'm so glad you're an expert on Islamic theology, and we should look for guidance for you when it comes to our imams. The point
Is it in the
this.
Quran or not?
The point is this.
Well, yes
I
or
don't
no will
think,
do.
for me, it's not mandatory. There are different opinions.
not in the
Again,
Quran, is it?
showing people should have different opinions. No, it's not. It's not in the Quran. But if she wants to, that's up to her. In the same way, if somebody doesn't want to, it's up to them. They don't need any man or woman telling people what they can and cannot.
Look,
In fact,
I
it's
want to-
completely
Sorry, Nigel Farage,
Yeah.
let me put a point to you
Yeah.
here. Here you are, as a party, the UK Independence Party, that loathes unnecessary regulation being imposed on people. You are this great liberal
Yes.
party against people coming up with rules that affect people, how they lead their lives. This is the most illiberal thing that you could possibly
The
say.
point about living in a liberal democracy is that you do have different religions and different cultures within it. But what is happening here, and I think the wearing of the veil is perhaps a symptom of it, is we have extremist elements in the Muslim community who are trying to impose their way of life upon us. And that's why...
That is a different thing.
Well, no, this is a symbol.
The woman we've
This
just
is a
heard
symbol.
the woman we've just heard from in that film says, I choose to wear it.
Yeah,
Now,
well-
you may not like it. You go to parts of London where there are
You're going to find it
Orthodox
very
Jews,
difficult.
they're going to wear full beards,
You're going to find it very
frock coats,
difficult to
big
find
hats.
someone who is forced to wear it, admitting to it, aren't you? But what is undeniable is even up to the level of the Archbishop of Canterbury, we have people talking about the possibility of Sharia law.
So again, you're
and the
putting
message,
into
hang
the
on, the
mix
message,
something
the message has
completely
got to be,
different.
the message has got to be that we want to live not in a divided society.
Exactly.
We want to live together as one
Together
unit.
by telling each other what you can and
And
cannot
that
wear.
actually wearing this face veil is acting as a serious barrier to that.
Okay,
Can I just have one thing in proportion in terms of this divided society? There's only 2% Muslims in Britain. Out of those, less than 1/4% of those 2% wear the veil. What kind of divided society is it when
the numbers are growing.
99.9% of British people are not affected by it, but you are in this studio today making a claim
Nigel
that
Farage,
Britain is a divided
Nigel Farage, let me put a
Yeah.
question to you,
Yeah.
which is quite simple. How would you police it?
I accept that the enforcement of this is difficult, and that's why the French, who intend to go down this route, are at the moment having a commission and working out how it would be done. They're proposing fines, very small fines, but I think more important...
Well, then, hang on.
John,
isn't
more
it-
important...
When it is such a sensitive issue,
Yeah.
isn't it incumbent on you to work out important details like that before announcing we want to ban the burqa?
We want to have a debate on how this is best enforced, OK? But the really important thing here, it's symbolic. We are saying we do not want to live in a multicultural society. We want to live together as one Britain where we respect people's traditions, but we all get on together.
Well, I think, like Angela Chowdhury,
and if I want to go
you're going
swimming...
for the headlines,
Hang on, if
you're
I want to
going
go
for the
swimming...
headlines,
if
and
I-
you're going for a more
no.
divided Britain,
If I want to go
not a more
swimming
united
in Croydon,
Britain.
just down the road from me, we now have days when only men are allowed and only women are allowed. What we don't want are the extremists in Islam imposing their way of life upon
Muslims
us,
don't
and
want
that's the point.
extremists imposing their religion on us either.
Well, we hear these voices every week,
Well,
I'm afraid.
I mean, how many people do you think this is in Britain who are wearing? Have you done any kind of assessment?
Getting the figures is very difficult. What we do know, though,
just given
is
you
the
some.
numbers are growing. The numbers are growing, and not just women. 4-year-old and 5-year-old children are being sent to school dressed like
hang on,
this.
so we haven't got the figures. You don't
It's several
quite-
hundred thousand people.
Several hundred thousand
Several hundred
people
thousand
are
people
wearing the full
are
veil.
wearing the full veil.
Where
Yes.
did you get that from, Nigel?
About 200,000 people is the estimate that I've been given, but nobody
By-
has got the figures. By an
In
expert.
France,
Yeah.
where there are 6 million Muslims, their estimate is that it's 2,000 people
No, it's
that are
much,
wearing the
much
full
higher.
veil.
It's much higher here. Much, and it's growing fast. But look,
Nigel, you've
what you
questioned
can't
Nigel.
Let's
deny,
talk about the politics of
Yeah.
this. Who do you think this policy will appeal to?
it will appeal
That's the
to
point.
people. It will appeal to people who want to live in a country where there is one law and that law applies to everybody. And I would have thought fair-minded people would say that the increasing ghettoisation of our cities is a real threat to genuine stability in this country.
This
Yes,
isn't
where
playing
you
to the
live, how many
BNP,
women
is
do
it?
that?
Sorry?
This isn't playing to the BNP, is it?
We've nothing to do with the BNP. And look, this is a policy, as I say, the French are pushing it into law. It's been discussed right across the world. There's nothing extreme or radical or ridiculous about this, but we can't go on living in a divided society.
Sammy Yaqub, isn't it incumbent on voices like your own to discourage people from wearing the niqab and the burqa because of the suspicion that it fosters? And you may not like Nigel Farage's policies. I would imagine an awful lot of people watching the television might be saying this is absolutely right. About time someone stood up and said this.
What I would say is people have every right to their natural reaction to when they see somebody. So you might not like it, whether it's a punk or a goth, or indeed the veil. But it doesn't mean you should deny that person right. You should say, oh, I wouldn't want that look, and I certainly wouldn't want to wear it for myself. But then to take it to a step, well, I'm going to ban it because I feel uncomfortable with it, is something I would say is very un-British, because the British way of life is live and let live,
Yes.
freedom of speech, freedom of worship.
And
as long as they're not imposing it on anybody
But
else,
this
they
is-
should
but
have the right to wear
The
it.
problem is we are getting the imposition of a different culture being forced upon parts
How
of
is it being
Britain,
imposed? Are
and
you
nobody
Nobody
I tell
wants
you
wants
what,
it.
we have run out of time. Very interesting discussion. Both of you, thanks very much indeed for
Thank you.
being